On March 13, 2026, Iranian state television broadcast what it called a precision operation against the most powerful warship in the Arabian Sea. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy claimed on live television that its ballistic missiles and drones had struck the USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, a 100,000-ton nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. They said the strike rendered the carrier non-operational. They said the entire strike group fled at high speed. And they broadcast it as a victory to 85 million Iranians watching their country get dismantled by American air power. There was just one problem. None of it was true. And what actually happened when Iran challenged the Lincoln? That's where this story gets interesting. Because while the IRGC was broadcasting propaganda, the USS Abraham Lincoln's escorts had already dealt with the real threat. An Iranian vessel sailed too close to the carrier, and it paid for it. To understand why an Iranian ship approaching the Lincoln was a death sentence, you need to understand what the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group looks like on day 14 of Operation Epic Fury. The USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, is a Nimitz-class supercarrier, 1,092 feet of nuclear-powered projection. She carries over 60 aircraft, FA-18E and FA-18F Super Hornets from Strike Fighter Squadrons VFA-25 and VFA-41, EA-18G Growler electronic warfare jets, E-2D Advanced Hawkeye early warning aircraft, and MH-60R Seahawk helicopters, each one equipped with sensors that can detect a submarine periscope from 40 nautical miles. She doesn't travel alone. Flanking the Lincoln in the Arabian Sea, the Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers USS Spruance, DDG-111, and USS Michael Murphy, DDG-112. Each one carrying 96 vertical launch cells loaded with SM-2, SM-6, and Tomahawk missiles. Each one equipped with the AN Spy-1D radar, a phased array system that tracks over 100 airborne targets simultaneously. Several additional U.S. destroyers were operating in the region. Together, they form a defensive bubble so layered, so interconnected, that military analysts call it the most sophisticated integrated air and missile defense system ever deployed at sea. So, when an Iranian vessel decided to approach this formation, it was sailing into the most heavily defended patch of ocean on planet Earth. The details come from two U.S. officials who spoke to CBS News on condition of anonymity. Earlier this week, the exact date not disclosed for operational security, an Iranian naval vessel began closing distance on the Lincoln Carrier Strike Group. In the Navy, there's a concept called the Weapons Engagement Zone. It's the invisible perimeter around a carrier strike group where approaching contacts are tracked, classified, and, if they don't respond, engaged. This Iranian vessel crossed that line. Phase 1, the warning shots. The first response came from the guns. A U.S. Navy escort vessel, officials did not specify which destroyer, trained its Mark 45 5-inch 54 caliber naval gun on the approaching Iranian vessel. The Mark 45 is a deck-mounted cannon. It fires 62-pound high-explosive projectiles at a rate of 16 to 20 rounds per minute. Effective range, 13 nautical miles. It is the standard naval gunfire weapon on every Arleigh Burke-class destroyer in the U.S. fleet. The destroyer fired and missed. Multiple times. Now, before you assume American gunnery has gone downhill, consider the context. Naval gunfire against a small maneuvering craft at extended range is one of the hardest shots in surface warfare. Small Iranian fast attack craft are low profile, difficult to track optically in sea clutter, and their unpredictable courses make fire control situations notoriously tricky. This is precisely why the Navy has a backup. Phase 2, Hellfire from above. When the Mark 45 rounds failed to neutralize the threat, the Lincoln Strike Group escalated. A helicopter was launched, armed with AGM-114 Hellfire missiles, the same precision-guided munition that has been the backbone of U.S. rotary wing lethality for over 3 decades. The Hellfire is a laser-guided fire-and-forget missile. It carries a 20-pound shaped-charge warhead capable of penetrating the armor of a main battle tank. Against a naval vessel, it's devastating. 2 Hellfire missiles were fired. Both struck the Iranian ship. The officials told CBS News the status of the Iranian vessel and its crew is not currently known. In military language, that typically means one of two things. The vessel was destroyed, or it was so badly damaged that tracking it was no longer a priority. Now, which helicopter delivered those Hellfires? Officials didn't say. But the Lincoln Carrier Strike Group has two platforms capable of carrying AGM-114 Hellfire. The MH-60R Seahawk, the Navy's premier multi-missile helicopter, equipped with AN/APS-153 multi-mode radar, forward-looking infrared, magnetic anomaly detector, and capable of carrying Hellfire missiles on its weapons pylons. This is the helicopter that hunts submarines by day and kills surface targets by night. And potentially the AH-1Z Viper, the Marine Corps' deadliest attack helicopter. If Marines from the Lincoln's embarked air wing were involved, the Viper carries up to 16 Hellfire missiles, a 20mm M197 3-barrel Gatling cannon, and 2.75-inch Hydra 70 rocket pods. Either way, the Iranian vessel never stood a chance. Phase 3, the Propaganda War. Here's where the story gets remarkable. While U.S. escorts were putting Hellfire missiles into an Iranian vessel, Tehran was broadcasting to the world that it had struck the Lincoln. The IRGC Navy claimed a precision operation using advanced missiles and drones against the carrier from 340 kilometers away. They said the strike rendered CVN-72 non-operational. They said the strike group fled at high speed. CENTCOM's response was one word: lie. U.S. Central Command posted imagery of the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group continuing normal operations. Launching aircraft, conducting flight operations, projecting power as part of Operation Epic Fury. Business as usual for a carrier that has been sustaining combat operations for 2 straight weeks. This wasn't the first time Iran tried this tactic. The IRGC had previously claimed to have struck the Lincoln weeks earlier. The Pentagon dismissed it then, too, saying the missiles launched didn't even come close. This incident sits inside a broader pattern of Iranian desperation in the Arabian Sea. In early February, before Operation Epic Fury even began, an Iranian Shahed-139 drone flew directly toward the USS Abraham Lincoln. An F-35C Lightning II from the carrier's air wing intercepted it and shot it down. No American casualties, no damage. Just another failed Iranian attempt to threaten a U.S. supercarrier. Now put these incidents together with the larger naval war. As of day 14 of Operation Epic Fury, CENTCOM reports over 6,000 targets struck across Iran, more than 90 Iranian naval vessels damaged or destroyed, over 30 mine-laying ships specifically targeted. Iran's surface navy is functionally eliminated. The IRGC also claimed it struck Mina Salman, U.S. Navy 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, with 2 waves of missiles and drones, targeting fuel tanks, drone storage facilities, and anti-drone defense systems. The U.S. has not confirmed any damage to the installation. This is what military analysts call the propaganda of the defeated. When you can't win on the water, you try to win on television. When your navy has been destroyed, you claim you've destroyed the enemy's carriers. It's the information warfare equivalent of a drowning man claiming he's swimming. But the Lincoln doesn't care about Iranian state TV. CVN-72 is still on station, still launching sorties, still putting ordnance on targets across Iran. And any vessel, military or otherwise, that approaches without authorization will be met with the same response. Mark 45 rounds. And if those miss, Hellfire missiles. A helicopter never saw coming. This incident reveals 3 critical truths about the naval war with Iran. First, Iran's naval suicide strategy is real and failing. Sending a single vessel toward a carrier strike group in the middle of a shooting war is not reconnaissance. It's not a probe. It's a one-way mission. Whether it was a fast attack craft loaded with explosives, a remote-controlled USV, or a manned vessel hoping to get close enough to fire anti-ship missiles, it was a suicide run. And it ended exactly how every suicide run against a carrier strike group ends. This is the same playbook Iran has used in the Strait of Hormuz, sending explosive USVs against tankers, kamikaze drones against merchant ships, and fast attack craft against anything that floats. It works against undefended commercial vessels. Against a carrier strike group with Aegis-equipped escorts, airborne early warning, and attack helicopters on standby? It doesn't. Second, the propaganda machine is the last weapon Iran has left. When the IRGC broadcasts that it struck the Lincoln, knowing full well it didn't, it's not lying by accident. It's manufacturing morale for a population watching their military infrastructure get systematically dismantled. Every Iranian watching state TV needs to believe their country is fighting back. The IRGC provides that illusion. But here's the dangerous part. When your own military leadership starts believing its own propaganda, it makes catastrophic tactical decisions, like sending a vessel toward a carrier strike group with no realistic chance of survival. Third, the carrier strike group concept works. The Lincoln has been operating in contested waters for 2 weeks. It's been targeted by drones, approached by hostile vessels, and subjected to ballistic missile threats. And it's still there. Still flying combat sorties, still the single most powerful military asset in the theater. That is the purpose of a carrier strike group. Not just to project power, but to absorb punishment, maintain operations, and make the enemy's attempts look futile by comparison. Iran challenged the USS Abraham Lincoln. The Lincoln is still there. Iranian ship is not. That's the reality of day 14 in the Arabian Sea. Iran's propaganda says one thing, the Hellfire missiles say another. If you want to see more tactical breakdowns of Operation Epic Fury, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're covering this conflict in real time. I'll see you in the next one.